Episode 6 of Season 1, Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal, aired on April Fools. And man, when I tell you this was the most action-packed, the most dreadful, the most heart-wrenching, and the most terrifying episode I've ever seen, I'm not exaggerating. The episode is called Plague of Madness, and it starts off in a setting of a valley, kind of reminiscent of where Littlefoot and his family lives, with the Great Valley Wall right in between their little safe haven and the Great Beyond. I swear to you. This is Littlefoot and his family. I swear, look at his grandparents. Anyway, everything seems okay. These dinosaurs are having fun, everyone's peaceful, and then one of the older dinosaurs decides to go off on his own to eat some delicious fruit. I'm telling you, although this concept has been done before, the execution of it in this episode and this show was just so flawless, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. Without any dialogue whatsoever, I mean, if you can count caveman talk, we're able to delve into the full experience of what the characters are going through. Every single character is meaningful on screen. We feel what they feel and we experience what they experience. Littlefoot. So our main star of this episode, who I'm going to call Toothfoot, decides to go off and eat his fruit. The way they set this up, you have no idea where the danger's coming from. And at first I thought it was going to be from these fruit that might be poisonous. Everything's chill. The suspense is heavy laden until you realize that there's a sound of something in the bushes nearby. Dude, the look on his face is the same look I wore on my face when I heard something, because I'm like, crap, something's coming, you don't know what it is. I swear this entire episode I was freaking nervous. If you have anxiety, don't watch this. An obviously sick Parasaurolophus jumps from out of the bushes and it's just acting like it has rabies. The confused Camarasaurus, which is what I think the sauropod is just looking in total confusion because he's never seen something like this. I was nervous the whole time because I was thinking, please don't let this thing get close to you. This poor, confused, and sick animal is just running circles around the sauropod's legs, and he realizes that it's not a threat. The whole time I'm thinking, please don't take your eyes off of it. Of course, Toothfoot does, but he doesn't think the creature's harmful, so I can't really blame him. As long as it's weird, but it's not hurting him, it's not a threat. Honestly, I see something acting like that next to me, I kick it away. But it seems to be a parallel for people who don't really take very serious illnesses or diseases to be very life-threatening whatsoever, and so he gets bitten. The whole time I'm thinking, oh no. Then some time seems to go by. You see, during this part right here, right after he gets bitten, I don't know if they kind of transitioned it so there's some time that goes by, or if he got infected right away. Like, all it took for him was to get bitten, and instantly, it's like whatever was happening, that plague, suddenly infected him, and right away, it took no time at all for it to start affecting his body. This is where the drama really turns up, and I honestly can feel so much for Toothfoot, because as he's feeling sick, you can tell that his behavior has changed, his neck is hanging low, he's panting because he's thirsty. Something is definitely wrong. So looking back and assessing the scene, I think some time has passed. I think he started to feel ill after the Parasaurolophus bit him, and then some days or hours went by, and we can see the effects that the plague is having on his body. I think that's where the change happens. I think that's a transition between when he got bit and maybe several hours or days later when he is totally infected. His skin looks like it's jaundiced. Everything just looks disgusting. His community members have no idea what to think because they've never seen anything like that. They know he's sick, but they don't understand the levity of the situation. This part's really freaking heartbreaking because he just starts drinking. It's like you can tell that he's thirsty, and no matter how much water he drinks, he's not quenching his thirst. Maybe he feels like his gut's on fire or something is happening inside of his body that's not right. You can tell that he has trouble breathing. It's just really heartbreaking and disgusting to watch. Not to mention, he's putting his infected mouth, nose, and all that stuff coming out of him in the water, in the watering hole where everybody's drinking. Wow, this part just had me, dude, you know something is wrong when the poor thing is trying to drink the entire watering hole and he's not getting any relief. I was thinking the entire time during the scene that his stomach was going to explode or something bad was going to happen, and it kind of did. What ensues next is just projectile vomit. That's basically blood and guts. Well, aren't you gonna show us Altiori? Stop talking and show us the video. No, go and watch it. Go and support the creator. This is a review, not Adult Swim. And honestly, you'd get the better experience if you watch it yourself, if you haven't already watched it. For those of you here who have watched it, you already know what happens. We see the stages of the sickness, where the creature starts to feel really horrible and then he descends into utter madness. I think the tension was turned up all the way to 1000 with this episode. Even in the scene right here where the mother sauropod is overlooking her eggs, everything is peaceful. She has no idea what's going on the other side of the valley. Nobody else knows what's going on. Everybody's totally confused. This infected member of their society just starts stomping around the place, killing all their offspring. And maybe at this point in time, the other sauropods are trying to calm him down. Nothing is working. Finally, one of the mothers or the males of the group tries to stop him, realizing that he's a threat and he needs to be put in his place. However, they have no idea the levity of the situation and that this dinosaur can no longer be reasoned with, and he ends up single-footedly killing every one of his herd members. That's when we see our first appearance in this episode of Fang and Spear. And I was left kind of confused because where we left off in episode 5, Fang was basically dead. So I don't know if this is just a fun episode, they retconned everything, or they just didn't address that and this is just a lot of time that has passed by. I mean, her leg was broken and everything. She doesn't have a limp. So for all we know, this episode could all be just a bad dream one of them is having. Fang and Spear notice that something is wrong because they come upon the sauropod herd and all of them are dead. They realize this is not a natural occurrence because whatever killed them didn't eat them, and it just killed all of them and left them there. This is when they realize that something is very wrong. Fang even stops and decides to sniff one of the corpses to see if it's ready to eat. She scoffs in disgust, probably smelling the sickness on the sauropods. Honestly, because this thing is so contagious, maybe it's better that the infected sauropod had killed all of his family members, or else there would have been bigger problems. Now, of course, the other reason I'm tense is because whatever illness or disease this is, it totally is contagious across species. So chances are, if the Parasaurolophus could give it to the Camarasaurus, then the Camarasaurus can also give it to our friend Fang. As they are assessing what is going on and getting ready to get the hell up out of Dodge, they meet their antagonist. The crazy Camarasaurus rises from the depths of its slumber and starts chasing after them like a damn horror movie. I'm telling you, there's so many modern day horror movies that don't have jack on this episode. Seriously, I was literally on the edge of my seat. I'm not saying that to be funny. I was on the edge of my seat, ready to fall out. My mouth was open. I was tense this entire episode, especially from this point going forward. Not only do you have to worry about this monstrous thing stomping you to death, but you have to also worry about it getting its juices on you. Because if its liquids jump in your eye or your mouth, you get infected. It just amps up the stakes even higher. Another thing that floored me is how the hell is Spear running so fast? At times he is really outgunning Fang. The rest of what ensues is just this horrible, tense-stricken chase by this zombie Camarasaurus who is hell-bent on attacking anything that moves, and right now that's Spear and Fang. Finally, they get to a canyon and they're able to take refuge. There were several times they almost lost their lives. After hiding out in a hole in the canyon, Fang and Spear realize that they can't stay there. At least Spear makes that first motion. Fang is not interested in leaving at all. Understandably, our girl Fang is not in any rush to get down there. I wouldn't move either. Fair, of course, being the leader, is like, dude, it's dead. Look, it hasn't moved in all this time. It's nighttime now. It's time for us to go. We still have to get food. We gotta get out of here. So they start tiptoeing around the ledge to get to the ground so they can walk away from this thing. And honestly, it's supposed to have a comedic effect in other mediums, but here it is so totally serious and it is so totally nerve-wracking intense. Dude, that's how my face looked the entire time. Luckily, the creature didn't hear it. They don't even know if it's really dead. You're thinking it's dead, but it's not dead. And at what point is this creature even dead anyway? Its bones are showing from out of its skin. It looks like its guts were hanging out at one point. So whatever's going on with it, it's certainly not the creature anymore. It's just whatever's taken a hold of its brain. This entire time I'm nervous because they have their backs to this thing as they're quietly walking away, and I'm thinking it's gonna get up, it's gonna get up, it's gonna get up. Maybe it's not gonna get up, but we're gonna see some other infected ones later down the line or in front of them or something, and of course, it gets up. What are you doing? Damn dino zombie chase continues for a while, the tension is there, and again they narrowly escape the zombie Camarasaurus, who gets stuck in a narrow space between the rocks. They've then traded one dangerous situation for a completely different one, but maybe it's for the best if they can survive it. There are these magma pits, or geysers, or whatever you want to call them, and it is a very unstable ground. Fang and Spear realize it's too dangerous to cross through here, so they have to go back. When one of the mini volcanoes erupted, they got a very small taste of what it feels like to be burned by this thing, this liquid flame. But as soon as they go back, for some reason in the direction where the Camarasaurus was trapped, the dude tears off skin and muscle from his freaking rib cage and dislodges himself from the narrow opening within the rock. He gives chase after Fang and Spear, who narrowly escape once again, not only having to fight for their lives against this disgusting infected thing, but also trying to avoid sinking into the liquid hot lava. What is so petrifying about the episode specifically is how hard it is to kill this thing. You can tell from their looks of disbelief that this is something that's going to haunt Fang and Spear for the rest of their lives. Even worse than the snake incident, because this thing has to be burnt into ash before it can stop moving, before it can actually be declared dead. It's possible that Spear had never seen anything like this before, but he now knows that it can be killed with fire. This was literally a kill it with fire situation. You know what really makes my blood run cold, though? This sauropod is not the first. It went on a rampage to kill and feed on everything that was around it. The Parasaurolophus is the first thing that we've seen infected, but we don't know how many other animals it infected. We don't know what sources of food or water it got into, and it's also a herd animal. So who knows what other Parasaurolophus are out there infecting other dinosaurs as well. That's what scares me. And is this something potentially that would kill off the other dinosaurs? Or would the dinosaurs that have an immunity to it live? I wonder if they made this episode, I'm sorry if I said this before and I'm repeating myself, but I really wonder if they just made this episode and decided to release it around the events of when this video was released. Because it does seem a little on the nose. But if there's ever a message for us to take away from this episode, to stay the hell away from things that look like that. I know I tend to say this every time, but I think this is my favorite episode just for how freaked out it made me feel. Or maybe this was in a category all by itself, because all the episodes seem really, really good, so I don't even know. I don't know if this is the actual official episode 6, because they didn't really tie in what happened at the end of episode 5, and maybe it doesn't really even matter. One thing I can say is for those of you who haven't watched it, you should definitely go give it a watch. It was freaking amazing. Oh my god, I love this series so much. I don't know when the next episode is airing, but thank you for those of you who put it out there to me, because I had no idea it had come on. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.